Ranger sold his wardrobe. The Lone Ranger sold his bad dog. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know, 'cause times change, I know.
On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say. On some days, he's more than humble. On some days, he's cold and mad, mad as hell. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Those lakes of golden water, those lakes of gold are all running out. Well, you saw him, and you can't hardly know. It's so strange, well, I know. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, sure as the hours. Joy, 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 work, work, work harder, you say.
Come along, join the fun, in a world where adventure is never done. Every corner we turn, a new friend in tow. It's time to start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know. Across the lands, together we go. Hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode. start the magic on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show. See the sights, so much to know across the land. Together we go, hand in hand we join the flow. Discover wonders in the Globus Show, where every day's a brand new episode on the Globus Show. It's time to learn and grow on the Globus Show.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What up, Pharaoh? What up, Cosmic? What up, Twitch? What up, bots? What up, lurkers? What up, tiny people in my chatterino? What up, Stampy? It's your boy. Sorry, Cosmic, but remember a while back when we were talking about how I was going to have to get a job, and I indicated that that was seriously going to impact my streaming schedule, and you talked about how there are people who have jobs and stream. Well, this is what it looks like, homie. I understand it's late for you. Not a whole lot I can do about that. But you do get to see Stampy this time, so that's nice. Stampy boy. The Stampy is the Stampy boys. What a way to start off the show. Hope everyone is enjoying their Wednesday. Want more attention? He needs more attention. Hold on. Hold on. We will give the boy more attention. All right. You can't see. What up, Sean? You can't see, but he's reaching over and tapping his little paw, his little claws on my arm, and he's like, I request more attention. Unfortunately, this cannot be the stream, my boy. My boy. You want to take over? No? Here's the mic. Here. Tell them how you feel. All right. So we have a bunch of content to get to today. Hi. And yeah, Stampy is his own different kind of pep cat. Come on. What up, Michael? Yeah, that's always the problem. I mean, I was looking forward to that kind of job, Michael. Unfortunately, instead I got a job where, let's see. What up, Hydran? I've been breaking record after record and getting my steps in, today was actually a lower day. I only got 15,000 steps in. Yesterday was a record-breaking day. I got in 22,524. The downside of all this is I'm in a calorie deficit, and so I kind of feel like shit. But it's intentional. What did non-compete do? Is he still married to Luna Oi? No one's talking about this. How long is it? 3 minutes? Well, fuck it. Let's see what non-compete has to say. Yeah, I knew they were married. I just haven't seen them together on the same thumbnail in some time.
Hello, we're here by the Dragon Bridge in beautiful Da Nang. I don't know what my hair looks like. Okay, I'm working on a full-length video right now that's talking about AI, robotics, automation, these new technologies that are emerging. Briefly, I want to share some thoughts that I've been having that are not going to make it into that main video. And the first one has to do with the immense amount of stolen labor value embedded in these large language models. And a lot of people have talked about the stolen intellectual property that's used to develop these systems. Ribbons? But what I have not seen discussed is the amount of stolen labor value of the artists and the writers who are making the content that is kind of farmed to make the models.
Yeah, that's capitalism, my G.
Their labor value is baked into these systems. This might be the largest theft of intellectual labor value in human history. That theft is not even wage theft. It's what Marx would call primitive accumulation, meaning it's just being stolen, appropriated from people without permission.
Yeah, that's capitalism, my G.
Without consent. And we should really be framing the discussion more in terms of stolen labor value as opposed to just talking about stolen intellectual property.
Which, I mean, is a fair critique, right? I don't dispute any people's critiques about this aspect of the training of the models, right? That there is stolen labor value that exists within the training of the models, just as there's stolen labor value every time anyone uses anyone else's work as influence. What up, One Great Earth? The issue at this point is scale. It's a total issue of scale. And I don't disagree. Where are we with overthrowing capitalism? Because that's the only way around this, right? Like, I just big picture the entire conversation, right? Yes, we can not. I don't even know what you would do. Like, I want to steelman the argument, right? But you could protest it. But on the list of things that people find a priority to protest, this is not really high on the list. Right? People are currently protesting about Gaza. They're protesting about, military and Gestapo being deployed into the United States cities. They're protesting about a variety of things. And so the idea that someone is going to prioritize protesting artificial intelligence training, which is at this point what we would call a fait accompli, because the courts have already deemed that, or at least the precedent that has been set in those courts, is that it's fair use, right? And because the act that they're performing is transformative. Now, you can argue that courts are captured by bourgeois, material interest, and I'm not going to argue that point either, because Okay, but then what is your point? Right? What would you like to do? Right? You want a revolution? Then we'll get into the whole fucking argument over whether or not the left in the United States is prepared for a revolution, and how many innocent people who use the system in order for their survival that you are willing to sacrifice in order to get your revolution over the top. I find this argument tired as anything created under the capitalist framework has elements of exploitation. This is not unique to AI. Yes, it's just, again, AI is faceless and therefore very easy to punch in the mouth because nobody gives a fuck. Folks only have so much energy left after the energy it takes just to exist. And that's yet before we even get to the idea of protesting, right? Like, let me give you an example. I am currently in a position where we have one car. My wife works, I work, we work differing schedules, and my son is going to college. So, under those conditions, we're doing a lot more driving and a lot more getting up early and a lot more staying up late and a lot more driving people around. And then but go ahead, non-compete. Give me the rest of your thing.
If we frame it that way, at least in some of our discussions, it's going to help to promote class consciousness, and it's going to have people thinking more about other forms of stolen labor value, such as wage labor, and normalizing these ideas.
No, just focus on wage labor, right? Focus on that. There's no need to, like, incorporate the aspect of AI into the argument because it's fundamentally capitalism. The capitalists have created a tool using the exploitation of the working class that they are then going to use to eliminate the working class from their relationship to capital through the working system. Right? There's no, other than scale, there's no difference between this and every other form of automation that has existed that has eliminated people's jobs and, hollowed out the middle and created a greater degree of alienation of the working class from the things that they need to survive. Right? Like, what people do is they say AI bad, and I am a leftist, and I have these theories, and I am going to wrap these theories in order to say that AI bad, rather than going big picture and just focusing again on capitalism, which is supposed to be like the Marxist critique and like that. But go ahead. Everyone has to do their AI content, and I'm not going to hate the hustle.
Is that we really need to be disseminating throughout the working class. Another aspect of these technologies, large language models in particular, is the fact that I think that it's a huge blunder to become overly reliant on these systems. Now,
what up, Samson?
As far as
we have a board. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
Yo, what up, Raiders? Do. What up, James? What up, James gang? What up, Stellar Wingman? What up, Digital? What up, Brad? What up, Redolent? Homie, hope you're doing well. What up, Crix? What up, Barkeater J? What up, Textilian? What up, Ben? What up, James, the man himself? What up, T Minus, the GOAT? What up, Skippy Goober? Great name, love that name. What up, Peevel? What up, I'm Just Me? What up, Kensai? How you doing, homie? What up, Spectrophonic? What up, Moist Bystander Effect? Still, excellent choice, changing up the name. I'm Globus the Elder. In case you don't know me, I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. This is the stream. We're currently watching Non-Compete. Who you? Baby, I just met you. This is crazy. Here's my number. Call me maybe. Thank you for the follow. What up, Chef? We're watching Non-Compete. Tell us why AI is bad. If you're not familiar with Non-Compete is a Marxist Leninist out of.
Sorry about this. I know it's a bit silly.
It's a bit silly.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
Can I go now? Thanks, Hal. Marxist-Leninist with Vietnamese characteristics. Luna Oi, they are married, and they're most famous for getting involved with some bullshit with Vosh.
Society-wide, humanity-wide, I agree that it's a huge problem that this is happening. And I certainly, for instance, don't want ChatGPT and other AI models to be used in schools to start replacing
What up, Becca?
teachers, human teachers.
Becca
That's
Lee?
absolutely a horrendous idea. But there's another aspect to this, which is the fact that our enemies are increasingly becoming very reliant on these systems for strategizing, for trying to understand and explain the world. I think we might be catching them in a mistake, and it's as you said, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. The more fascists and neoliberals and enemies of the working class
and the Chinese government, and
You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
T-minus 14 months. What up? Exactly, Spectrify. Like, it's not just the framing around AI, right? And again, for those of you who are new, you do not have to like AI to be in this community. There are a bunch of people who don't like AI in this community. My only thing for you is that I want you to have good arguments based in reality and based in the functionality of the way that the things actually work, and not in some, weird shit, right? Like making shit up. Did you say douche or Vosh? I hear that the same way for some reason. Yes.
rely on things like ChatGPT in developing their movements, the weaker they are going to become. There are very few.
That doesn't even follow, right? So one of the biggest things that a tool like ChatGPT, any of these AI tools grants you. What up, Holiday? Is the ability to interact with large amounts of data beyond what you would be able to interact with were you just to attempt to read theory, right? Because you only have so much time in the day, you can only read so much theory. Where these AI tools can help you access all the theory that's contained in all the PDFs that you could possibly jam into them. Speaking of, this is my book list. If you want to know the theory that underlies what I talk about on this channel, you go check out the book list. And for a bonus, here's a free book. Saw an article today. They created a new AI model that is based on the human brain. It's outperforming all the big AIs at the moment. I would need a little bit more detail. I am interested. There has been some stuff that we've been watching through GT using that. These books, however, Samsons, are digital and therefore are not dead trees. I see AI is analogous to dynamite. Could be used for great things, but all things being equal, we'll probably just blow ourselves up. The majority of dynamite was used to do things. Now, what you might feel about those things, that is absolutely open to discussion. Blowing up a chunk of a mountain to put a train through, you might be against, right? Based on who owns the train, etc. However, a great many, let's say, ambitious leftists have used dynamite for a variety of purposes.
Situations in which they are actually useful and accurate. They make a lot of mistakes. And so if our enemies are going to become more and more reliant on these,
It's very true, Skippy Goober. The thing with AI right now is that because it's so new, there are tons of different models in the subscription pay scale constantly changing and dizzying for a civilian consumer. 100%. Like, one of the things that you run into in that regard is that, like, it's difficult to figure out which one you should use. So what I always advocate for is using try the free versions of the different models. Find the one that works best for what you want it to work for, and then if you have the $20 to bump up your subscription to the paid version, you might want to do that, right? If you have that available. I would say it's better to spend your $20 on an AI premium model than it is to spend $20 on Netflix. But that is me. Meow, meow, meow. Hierarchical reasoning, yeah. And this is from 10 hours ago. Scientists of Sapient. AI, remember, we talked about Singapore, right? Don't sleep on Singapore. Scientists at Sapient, an AI company in Singapore, say this reasoning model can achieve better performance and can work more efficiently. This is thanks to the model requiring fewer parameters and training examples. It's distinctly possible that the current way that LLMs are constructed is not the way forward. And we've talked about that before. Generally speaking, we're going to be following a variety of different paths. And in an evolutionary sense, the better model should supplant the weaker models as time goes on. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing somebody put out a video, and hopefully we'll have that for tomorrow. All right, wrap it up, non-compete.
systems, it means they're going to be making more mistakes. They're going to be weaker. So maybe what we need to be doing is decrease the impact that these systems have on harming society at large while allowing our enemies to become increasingly reliant on these large language models. These are just a couple of quick.
This is an argument for abdicating ground to fascist, which I am radically against. The future will contain AI. The idea, if you believe that there's an AI bubble, I'm going to disabuse you of that notion, right? Like, if you want to get into it, we can definitely get into it at a later point in time. But generally speaking, I'm going to ask you to just trust me, bro, and that we've covered the matter multiple times on this. Yeah, I don't abdicate ground to fascists. I'm not doing it, right? AI is going to be around in the future, and I would like leftist thought to be represented in the data set. Yeah, Samsons.
Thoughts I thought I'd share with you. I'd love to hear what you think. If you have any thoughts about large language models and AI and robotics that you're not seeing discussed very often, let us know in the comments. Stay safe out there, comrades.
Yeah, and now he's grifting for engagement. All right. Well, I don't want to get into that argument, Sean. I am anti-statist. Generally speaking, I believe all states are bastards. All states do state shit. And non-compete reacts poorly to having that thrown in his face. So I doubt I'm ever going to talk to them, and that's it. I have no issue growing my skill set while others sit there with their thumb in their asses. I mean, I advocate for them to not do that, Samsons, and I'm going to keep pushing. Excuse me. And speaking of pushing and grifting, it's my favorite guy and yours, Ed Zitron.
What we want to know is, will artificial intelligence really change the world? Joining me now is technology writer and CEO of
Ed Zitron, for those who don't know, is a PR guy. He owns a PR company. He is currently grifting people being anti-AI. And he's generally a dipshit.
Easy PR. Ed Zitron, who doesn't believe in the generative AI revolution, calling it a financial, ecological and social time bomb. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, one of the points you're making is that there's a lot of vested interest here in this narrative that it's going to take over because there's a lot of money behind it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a lot of money behind it, hundreds of billions of dollars put.
I don't know why Ed is using this shitty setup here. Ed has much better equipment that he could be using and should be using for this interview instead of his AirPods and phone or MacBook.
The data center capital expenditures and GPUs from Nvidia, but very, very little revenue. Around 35 to 40 billion dollars in total revenue in 2025 from all of the companies, OpenAI and Microsoft included, and that is about how much smartwatches made in 2024. It's a disaster.
Are you describing a time bomb?
It's not a disaster. What he's doing is so, as all of you are, I'm sure, strongly aware at this point, the United States has chosen for the longest time not to invest in infrastructure. And the requirements to get these models up and running have required a great deal of infrastructure investment. So that's where a lot of the money is going.
As in a financial time bomb or the creation of a technology that we can't control?
The former. The whole AGI narrative, the whole thing around this uncontrollable AI thing, it's a farce, it's fiction. Artificial general intelligence is a fictional concept peddled by liars like Sam Altman, who will happily pretend that they're large language.
There's nothing fictional about the concept. It hasn't happened yet, and that's where Ed likes to rest his hat, right? He indicates to people that it's fictional rather than just hasn't happened yet, which is a thing you can do.
Models, which are probabilistic models that just guess what the most likely thing you want them to do, are somehow
What up,
connected to
walking stick?
autonomous intelligence. Agents don't work, they don't exist. Mark Benioff similarly peddling lies around what agents can do. And when you actually look at the outcomes and outputs of these models, they don't even begin to represent any kind of automation or really any meaningful innovation at all. And when I said that revenue, I meant revenue, not profit.
The idea that there isn't any innovation behind these models is just absolutely flat out wrong. And walking stick, there's a huge difference between a person like you, a person like me, a person like Peevil, a bunch of we are smaller streamers. We have a limited budget. He has as much money as he wants to spend, more or less.
Everyone is losing money.
But they are, there are AI models that are taking jobs, right? They're processing information in the way that humans do and replacing them. So that is.
Now, Ed's going to say no, that this is not actually happening. Ed is also prone that when he gets something that indicates that he's wrong, when he was talking on his podcast about AI taking jobs, he was like, "Oh, don't talk to me about customer service jobs because they've been trying to automate those for years." What they've been trying to do, when you put it next to what they are now capable of doing, would indicate that the automation is finally gotten to the point. Skippy Goober, we don't allow the LUL emote here. Apologies for that. It's just not going to work. If you want to copy and repaste that, then that'd be great.
It's pretty revolutionary.
Not really. There's no one really replacing jobs. The study that came out of Stanford today that everyone's claiming is proof that AI is replacing people is actually a farce in and of itself. The study says that there's a 13% drop in certain careers that are affected by AI. But when you look, they have no data that actually proves that AI was involved. One of the professions they choose, accountancy, actually has had a several year long crisis of finding people to become accountants. The drop in those numbers is nothing to do with AI. The same with all of them, the same with coders. You'll notice that none of these companies ever.
So if you ever hear that that jobs are being lost due to AI or that hiring isn't happening due to AI, know that Ed Zitron says it's wrong.
Really prove that anything is happening where workers are being replaced. Sadly, the people being replaced are contract laborers like art directors and SEO experts. And even then, we don't really know the scale. These studies keep coming out that are just fudging the numbers. And it sucks. And it's not telling people the truth, which is that these models are limited and lose a bunch of money.
But they're going in a certain direction, which will be the revolution. You know, we're just early in it.
No, Crix. Ed says no. Ed is just telling you no. You're wrong. Whatever your personal experience is, it's just wrong. Ed knows, right? Ed knows.
Isn't that the argument?
No. Well, I mean, that might be the argument, but there's no proof. And indeed, the head of AI at Meta said that large language models are not going to lead us to not going to lead LLMs to becoming AGI. We don't have any proof that AGI is possible. We don't even have anything that can do the kind of autonomous labor that all of these companies have been selling these dreams on. It's all kind of kayfabe. Everyone's just kind of pretending that something's happening, and nothing's really been.
And this is the classic setup of the grifter. Everyone is just going along with this, but I, the truth teller, am going to tell you otherwise, right? This is some Joe Rogan ass shit. This is some fucking what's his name, fucking Infowars fucking shit, right? I'm gonna tell you the real truth. Everything else is kayfabe. The difference between myself and Ed Zitron is I will present y'all with the evidence and ask you to make your own conclusions. He might be, people. He might be pinned to fuck.
Happening.
So your concern is that this will be, investors will realize this at some point. They're going to pull their money out. And because all the big companies are so invested, there's going to be a crash. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, it's actually a little worse than that. So Paul Kudrowski, an economist, came out with a piece a few weeks ago that said that AI data center capex accounted for more of economic growth, GDP growth, than all consumer spending combined. Worse still, most of that capital expenditures was for companies, Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon. Microsoft, here's the crazy thing, the Magnificent Seven.
That's what you might call infrastructure investment, or you can just, say it's just huge capex.
Stocks, they make up 35% of the value of the stock market, and Nvidia 8% of it. And then the real pain point here is that 42% of Nvidia's revenue comes from the Magnificent Seven. What happens when Nvidia slows down? Everything slows down. Our economy, our markets, and I think the moment that Nvidia slows, everything starts falling apart and everyone realizes there are no business returns here. No one's replacing jobs. Not that that's anything to be excited about. And really, nothing has happened other than burning a lot of money and making Sam Altman richer.
Ed, you said it very clearly. Appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
My
We'll come back
pleasure.
in a moment.
I mean, form your own conclusions, right? Like, feel free. Ed Zitron has a whole catalog. If you type Ed Zitron into YouTube, you will find all his shit. How much of data center costs is NVIDIA's monopoly on AI GPUs? That is high. right? That is high because any monopoly or near monopoly is going to increase prices. This is capitalism 101 because what you want is competition in the market, right? Up next, some bald dipshit says AGI is not coming.
Hello, I'm out of my usual room today. As you can see, I'm flying to the US for work. But I wanted to give some quick updates on OpenAI's new model launches the past week. So they've released an open source model in different variants, and they've also
He's got an OpenAI Codex t-shirt.
released the new Frontier model.
Yes, Samsons. Yes. All the arguments, all the bullshit is all capitalism.
In different variants. The open source model called GPT OSS and the Frontier model obviously called GPT-5. Now, I am sure you've heard and seen the announcements, but I wanted to kind of give a quick thoughts on this, and that is I really feel that the era of boundary breaking advancements.
I mean, mirror shades to do a video is a choice you could make. What up, Mystic Fortitude? Welcome in.
Is over. Like AGI
What
is
up,
not
Nick?
coming, and we can be reasonably sure about that.
Who, this dipshit? He could be. He could be. I know nothing about him other than this, and wearing mirror shades to do a video is a choice you could make.
With not just OpenAI's new launch of models, but also other frontier models. It seems very much that we're in the Samsung Galaxy era of LLMs, and what I mean by that is, you remember like the early smartphones, every new generation was absolutely groundbreaking with like new things and wow, it really expanded the capabilities of these devices. And now we're at Samsung Galaxy 42S5 Star.
25 Ultra. Thank you. Yeah, no, he's not doing great. He's not doing great, Samson. Skippy Goober, AI lends itself to capitalism as an everything solution. Literally, the every problem is a nail when all you have is AI, a hammer. Yes, and that's actually my argument for why I believe that AI, if they continue to do what their stated goal is and continue to create smarter and smarter AI and smarter and better automations, that eventually it's going to undermine capitalism and destroy the entire system. He does not work for OpenAI because he referred to them as they.
Or something like this, and it has a bit better camera than the last generation, and like the image software is a bit better or something like this. And I'm not saying we're there, but it feels we're definitely going towards that. So there's big.
You, Red, are much more, I'll say it, you're much more attractive and much more eloquent than this guy.
Talk in the community that OpenAI has probably used synthetic data sets extensively in training these models.
Michael, it's funny that that a lot of anti-AI arguments, Ahab was the captain from Moby Dick, and Moby Dick opens with "Call me Ishmael." A lot of these people whose arguments are anti-AI end up being defenses of various capitalist tools, right? Like copyright and IP law and all that kind of shit. You're just shilling for the mouse, right? You're scraping crumbs off the table while the mouse takes a chunk of literally everything it can get its hands on.
And also used reinforcement learning extensively. And that means that rather than sort of collecting data from all around, they are gearing their models towards particular use cases. And it is widely assumed that these use cases are coding, because coding is where these LLMs making a lot of impact right now.
People, hydrants from another country. We get I'm Mr. Worldwide out here. I get people from all around the world. So not everyone's gonna get the references that are common parlance. You know what I mean?
Benchmarking, like all these type of benchmark tasks. Now, I'm not trying to say that they are gaming the benchmarks necessarily, but certainly collecting that kind of data that would be helpful for these benchmarks, and then directly
Chris.
reinforcement learning on it is not out of the question here. And this is evident by the fact that people are saying that, especially the open source variants of OpenAI's models, they hallucinate to a much higher degree. Like the model seems to have a lot less world knowledge than other models, but at the same time, these models are really
Honestly, Sean, I don't know if I wouldn't go far as to say these things are pointless. I would say that the majority of people have tools and technology that exist on their smartphones that they never use, right? They just don't. And I think that, again, talking about an issue with capitalism, I think it's a fundamental flaw of the smartphone market is the drive for like this amazing technology that's in here. Like I've got all those fucking camera lenses and I had to ask Gemini what the fuck they do, right? Like, am I going to use these? I take very few pictures that require all that technology. It's amazing, and if I need it, I'm gonna love it. But I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to need it.
really good at instruction following and at tool calling. And so I do believe we see a future where LLMs sort of act as tool calling glues, so to say, as, okay, you give them a bunch of tools, and then the LLM is responsible for sort of routing information between the tools. And we already see that today, right? You can have agentic behavior from pretty much any provider of LLM. That's like, please don't be impressed if you see something like this. This just comes out of the box with the LLM provider.
I do take pictures of the cat. They are in the Discord.
So what matters in the future is the tools and how you can get access to them. And what matters to the LLM providers is, first of all, how much can they gear their models towards tool calling? And there's an inherent danger, because I do believe a lot of what is disguised as tool calling still requires a large degree of world knowledge, and we'll see how that plays out. And the other thing is price. So OpenAI's GPT-5 model is notably priced really cheap for how good it is. It's at the same level as other frontier models as far as we can tell from benchmarks and from impressions of people, but it's really good like at coding and tool calling, and it's really cheap, or cheaper than others. And so it feels like we're out of steam on the foundational research in terms of making these models better. It's long been said that we have probably about 2 to 3 orders of magnitude left in terms of scaling training data and scaling compute. I don't think so. I think, or at least it may be not worth it. And what people are probably doing behind the scenes now is just trying how to synthetically create data sets and how to do the reinforcement learning, reward shaping, and so on, which in a way is good, because that's where we started in machine learning when sort of deep learning came on the scene. And we're trying to figure out how to best train these things. And then came the LLM era, where it was just like pump data, pump data, pump data, pump compute. And that made a lot of gains. And now we're back to, okay, you actually have to do something smart. So it's as exciting. However, compared to earlier, now it takes like millions of dollars to do one training round. So I do believe like a really good era to be right now is in being able to predict where the big training run ends up. And obviously the big companies are already doing that and have been doing that for a long time. But being like, right now, if I were to get into research right now, I think a very interesting era would sort of be, how do we predict from small experiments?
Does anybody else feel like he's just saying a bunch of words in a row and he's not actually making any points because I'm not feeling it.
And from early training trajectories, where we'll end up, and ideally how we can fix it along the way, right? So we don't have to restart again, but we're like, okay, it's a bit off to the left. Let's sort of fix it like this to achieve.
Samson's, there is a wage shortage. You're not wrong. There is a labor shortage of certain kinds of trained professionals within the medical field. Because a lot of the older doctors and nurses dropped out during the pandemic because their health was at risk and no one was taking it seriously. So they just bailed, right? Because they had the ability to do so. Left the country, like a variety of different things. Yeah, left before passing down knowledge. Again, it's this hollowing out of the middle that happens under capitalism. But yeah, no, and then there you add in the whole insurance company aspect to it, where the insurance companies are taking a greater and greater piece of the pie while providing less and less money to the healthcare industry that actually supports the insurance companies, at least in theory, but more not that. It's fucking wild, dude.
Achieve some desired outcome. And the other era is just how much
True,
world
Red.
knowledge is required versus how much tool calling ability is required, and how should we balance between the two.
I've seen some my man whose name I forget, the guy who says "Follow me, I'm delicious." He's from Ireland, and he was doing a video complaining about the number of Americans who are going to Ireland. There's a lot of people who have chosen to opt out at this point in time. Again, if they have the money to do so, which great.
So again, new OpenAI models, extensively trained on synthetic data, probably large part reinforcement learning, probably very geared towards the money-making situations right now and not just pure intelligence anymore. And it seems like we flattened out on that front. And
he's vaguely gesturing and using a lot of weasel words like probably, right? So I don't know. Maybe he's good on other stuff. Somebody said earlier that, that they had heard him talk about some technical things, and maybe he does know some stuff. This was not a great video.
AGI is not coming. Shout out to Jack Morris, who has a really good thread on Twitter, X, whatever that's called now. I'll link it in the description, where he goes extensively into embedding data that comes out of the open source GPT models and actually showing that it has a very particular distribution. And from that, that's just more evidence to the probable data composition and training paradigm that these models had. That's it. Yeah.
Like, I don't argue with him with the synthetic data and the reinforcement learning training paradigm. I'm just not sure how that's indicative of AGI not coming or anything else, right? Like, I'm not sure where we went here. But it, we had fun, and now we'll watch something else. PBS NewsHour, talking about the bubble.
Companies are pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into infrastructure to ramp up artificial intelligence. Some projections show that spending may be fueling nearly half of this year's estimated GDP growth. AI is having a disproportionate impact on the markets, too, especially in recent months. Economics correspondent Paul Saul.
The market and GDP are completely separate from actual everything going on. Like, they're so disjointed, it's not even funny.
Solomon looks at how AI is already impacting the economy and whether a new risky bubble could be forming at the same time.
In Red Clay, West Texas, one piece of a $500 billion bet. A ginormous data center complex from the folks who brought
Ginormous. You know it's serious when PBS NewsHour busts out ginormous.
you ChatGPT, one of hundreds of AI data centers sprouting nationwide. Extravagant bets that, if they hit, could pay off big time.
Imagine going back to the days when electricity was first invented.
Imagine, Nick. But to be fair, we already have more than enough housing to house everyone. There's capitalist organizations that own the housing, keep some houses empty in order to prop up the values, all that kind of shit. The entire thing is fucked, right? The entire thing is fucked.
And making things happen 10 times faster. We could now have automatic washing machines. We could have refrigerators. A lot of things became possible with electricity.
AI is the electricity revolution on steroids.
I love portmanteau words. I just this is PBS NewsHour busting out ginormous.
Says Silicon Valley entrepreneur and techno-optimist Vivek Wadhwa.
We're adding intelligence to everything, and it's making our business processes smarter. It's making data analysis for the government smarter. Everything we do is becoming smarter because we have so much data, and artificial intelligence helps us to understand that.
You hear such starry-eyed enthusiasm from tech moguls far and wide.
AI can take away the drudgery of the work and allow the human to provide the things that only a person can do: creativity, innovation, coalition building.
We want to invest over $50 billion in compute infrastructure and AI.
I think AI is going to be bigger than the internet.
Which is why, since the release of the ubiquitous AI ChatGPT in 2022, real and pledged spending by big tech has exploded.
Right now, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on AI architecture.
So here's a guy, right? This guy here got the same dual AirPod setup as Ed Zitron and sounds 20 times better than Ed did.
Hundreds of billions of dollars.
Also, because he came back, Campy. Show me your face. Good boy. Good boy. Stampy don't care about bubbles. Stampy care about snacks.
On AI architecture.
Aswath Damodaran teaches finance at NYU's business school.
Why? Because there is this hope.
Skippy, that's probably correct.
This prayer that there is this big market out there for AI products and services.
And just a prayer, say some folks.
We're in the middle of an AI bubble. There is no need for dozens of companies to have what are called foundation models, and each of them are raising tens of billions of dollars in training these.
No need. This is capitalism, my dude. There's no need for a lot of this bullshit. There's no need for 1,000 different brands of or 1,000 different kinds of cereal and 6 brands, and then a bunch of store brands and off brands that are the other brands just marketing your toothpaste, like the whole fucking thing. It's
these large so-called foundation models.
The AI boom reminds longtime AI entrepreneur Jerry Kaplan of autos, dawn of the 20th century.
There were dozens of car companies, eventually consolidated down to a few.
And at the century's dusk,
there wasn't a need for dozens and dozens of browsers or search engines. There's only a need for a small number.
What does this need nonsense? What are you talking about?
We're in exactly that same situation today with respect to AI. There's only a need for a handful of the basic low-level foundation models that require all of this investment to build. So what's going to happen? Well, it's all going to consolidate, obviously, and there will be only a few survivors left.
So it's all a dream?
There's this dream, at least, that maybe one day we can make money from selling AI products and services, just as we overinvested for the internet at the start of the dot-com boom. We overinvested in the PC architecture business before the PC boom. We overinvested in social media at the start of the social media boom. I think
So what you're saying is that even if there is a bubble, the overinvestment will be followed by a boom.
we're overestimating how much
What up, Silverlight?
money can be made from AI products and services.
But hey, he asks his classes,
What's so wrong with a bubble? And he said, bubbles are terrible. It create pain. People lose money. I said, would you want to live in a world run by actuaries? Who says, we'd still be in caves because they'd be looking at fire saying, dangerous thing, let's have a few more 1,000 years of testing things out. Every advance in humankind has come from overreaching.
True.
Yeah, okay. But at what cost?
Yeah, okay.
If AI is at the moment driving economic growth
But
overall.
at what cost?
Estimates as high as 50% of GDP this year.
So that if the bubble bursts, it'll be a real downturn for the U.S. economy.
The real economy, not that much. Because if you think about the size of the real economy, even if you take all of the AI architecture investments, it is a small percentage of a huge economy. But the market, very different story.
The S&P 500, for example, is up 10% this year, largely thanks to tech stocks and investments in AI.
This is a market that has ridden on the back of AI for the last couple of years. The economy might do fine. Stocks might be down 40%. And that does have ripple effects in the economy. I mean, losing $10 trillion in market cap just in 5 companies can have huge consequences for people's 401ks, their spending.
Moreover, AI's impact nearer term is proving way scary. Many booming companies are not adding workers as they usually do. They're shedding them, both here and abroad.
Company has shrunk from about 5,000 to almost now 3,000 employees. And if you go to LinkedIn and look at the jobs, you'll see how we're shrinking.
That was CEO of the hot buy now, pay later firm Klarna this spring.
10 years ago, I did a story on coding academies. It was the way to move up in the economy. And now, profitable companies, very profitable, are laying off those very people, no?
I'm actually seeing that in microcosm in my work at Stanford. A lot of the students are having considerable difficulty getting jobs. And I'm talking about the students graduating with master's.
Also, old dude here, AirPods, fucking thing. Sounds better than Ed Zitron. I'm just not listening to Ed Zitron, dude. I don't.
Degrees in computer science. That's a tremendous surprise for me. I haven't seen that in my lifetime.
And it's not just in techie Silicon Valley.
Artificial intelligence going to replace.
And it's not just in techie Silicon.
I hate everything about this. Like, can I have, how about a smaller window, right? like, is it to prevent people from looking up internet porn and jacking off, or what exactly is doing? I feel for this poor dude. He's like in a human fish tank.
Silicon Valley.
Artificial intelligence going to replace literally half of all white-collar workers in the U.S.
That's Ford CEO Jim Farley in Rust Belt, Michigan.
AI will leave a lot of white-collar people behind.
Other estimates are not quite as dire, but even as AI displaces workers, it will improve the world.
That's what I'm saying, Skibby. Like, it should be private, right? Like, I'm not even necessarily against, like, a window, right? But, like, just the giant window, it feels unnecessary.
Immeasurably, Vivek Wadhwa is betting.
My AI can do what human beings can't do in analyzing patterns
You might be right, Nick. I could be reading it wrong. I would feel claustrophobic.
And with it, I'm going to revolutionize the entire medical diagnostics industry. My goal is to be able to provide full comprehensive medical testing for less than the cost of a meal.
But even Wadhwa sees a downside he can't deny.
AI is going to take jobs on a scale that we haven't imagined before. It's not that all jobs will disappear. Many new jobs will appear. But a lot of existing jobs that do grunt work, that do manual analysis of stuff, that do manual labor, will be eliminated because of what AI makes possible. This is unstoppable.
Unstoppable as AI makes utopian dreams possible and dystopian dreams.
That's why I am Stella
at least
Ringman.
as likely.
I talk about its good side, the fact that I can use it now to solve the problem of the medical diagnostics to help reduce suffering. At the same time, it's going to take jobs away and create all sorts of new nightmares, security issues, deep fakes, God knows, what. None of us really understand how fast things are moving and where we're going to be even 5 years from now.
And we're not even talking about
Jesus
rogue
Christ.
AI that operates on its own. Nightmare scenario of the Terminator movies. Not talking about it in this story anyway. So, want a closing thought?
Sure.
Mine may well be the same as yours.
I doubt it.
The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away.
Definitely wasn't that.
PBS NewsHour, Paul Solomon.
Thanks, Paul. So, have y'all heard of this program called Excel? I hear the kids love Excel.
Well, now for nearly 40 years, spreadsheet mastery has been a rite of passage in a multitude of entry-level jobs, from investment banking to private equity to consulting, and that may be about to change thanks to AI. I welcome this, Leslie.
Yeah, because you were a spreadsheet cruncher.
No, but I wasn't very good at it.
I have never used Excel for its intended purpose. I used Excel to make Warhammer 40K army lists.
You were an Excel monkey?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it for 5 years before I joined CNBC, and I always was way slower. Do you know what? Not just than my colleagues, than my late, great older brother. He was a machine on it, and it just always annoyed me.
So for some people, it literally clicks. When
Yeah.
I started in business school, I literally bought a Excel for Dummies book, read it. Still, I'm terrible at Excel. But just within the last month, here's some good news. There's been a slew of AI product launches that aim to take on Excel or Google Sheets. One of them, called Shortcut.ai, went viral when its Excel agent was unveiled in late July. The technology can build a discounted cash flow model from scratch in minutes. The CEO, Nico Christie, told us that Shortcut is already serving thousands of paying customers at thousands of companies, mostly through individual.
Wait, I was told that AI doesn't generate revenue by Zitron.
Lower level employees.
The work that you do tends to be very time consuming and I wouldn't say menial, but repetitive. And what you would rather be doing is doing what the associates and managers do at these firms, which is mostly reviewing the work that takes more time to do. So now that we can have AI that can actually do 4 hours of work in 20 minutes, it's a no-brainer in terms of ROI and making the switch over.
Christie said that ROI unleashed a battlefield in the race for superhuman Excel agents. Shortcut's parent company, Fundamental Labs, has raked in more than $40 million in funding from Prosus Ventures, Andreessen Horowitz, and First Spark, to name a few. OpenAI just invested $14 million in something similar called Endex. General Catalyst just seeded another company called Paradigm, and Google and Microsoft have been quickly rolling out AI features to defend their spreadsheet turf. So far, none of the agents, though, are 100% perfect. They still require human oversight, especially in scenarios with legal or regulatory or compliance implications. But the technology is improving by the day, and it's expected to have broad ramifications for, well...
What up, Rockside, right? Yeah, like, deep research feature, they go to what I was saying earlier about the capabilities that the AI tools at their current state of being, the things that they allow you to do, right? Like with just vast troves of information on PDF, you can just go off. And you can like, yes, hallucinations are always a concern because you want accurate information, generally speaking, and you can control for that with these systems. You just have to do it properly.
Wall Street
in their infancy. Yes, it's been 2.5 years.
Talent as well as bottom line efficiencies. And guys, this has all really just exploded in the last month.
It's super exciting and makes your life better and should make other people's lives better in certain ways. Those that actually have to do the job, it will make your life easier. But there's those who won't get the job because there won't be a job to do.
Right. And I mean, I asked Christy about that. I said, is this going to just completely supplant the entry-level workforce in all of these industries? I mean, we're not just talking about investment banking. We're talking about consulting. We're talking about private equity. We're talking about accounting. I mean, he said 2 billion Excel users that are proficient with it, that use it every day for their jobs.
But I have a bigger point, which is this kind of highlights a broader question of, does AI now just arbitrage away kind of all the potential different views on a stock or in the market? I mean, if AI builds the spreadsheet and the model from which
2 billion Excel users is what she said,
then the whole of the sell side base their kind of forecasts. Aren't we just kind of all going to converge on the same thing? I mean, maybe we already have that now because the biggest stocks are covered by so many people and you get the consensus forecast. But it's going to happen
but
like
they're
that.
going to give you ranges, right?
Yeah. And I think
it's all going to be a range, and someone's going to have to decide, I'm picking the low end of this range, I'm picking the high end of this range.
But I'll step back from... I still remember in my early days when you had to build your own model. That was like what you were told. And yet you could have just picked up any one of the 28 sell-side analyst models and used that initially. But what does it actually really come down to? I am going to put in a bigger input on AI sales of this company than most others because I believe in the big theme. So again, it's so interesting, like the amount of time and energy that goes into all this, and really does it really make the difference, the underlying model versus getting those big themes right?
Well, I think, it all comes down to the prompts that you give the AI and tell it to look for certain assumptions and pull this 10K and compare it to this 10K. I mean, you still as a human, you have to instruct it to do what you want it to do.
AI is not, and so I tell my kids this all the time, AI is not like a mind reader. The prompt actually does matter. If you have a view, you tell it the view. If you don't have a view, it will come up with its own view. I agree. If nobody has a view and you just are literally saying to the AI, what do you think? Yes, you will get to that point. If everyone has no agency over themselves whatsoever, we will all come to a median in the middle of some sort, some average. But hopefully you have some agency in your life and you're not just going to listen to whatever the AI gremlins have decided.
So I basically agree. I kind of put it a different way, though. I think the people who take more agency over the next 5 years and rely on AI less will do better. Because I think it's just going to speed up arbitraging away the consensus.
We'll take a random walk down AI Street.
He does love that word arbitrage. FYI, for longtime viewers, Liz the developer is actually out at Burning Man helping to assemble a library at Burning Man. So shout out Liz the developer. All right. Y'all want to watch an AI short film from Nobody in the Computer? I hope so, because we're going to watch an AI short film from Nobody in the Computer.
This film was made possible thanks to the support of the Nobodies Collective.
Everything you're seeing, everything you will see throughout the course of this video, generated with AI. The video, the audio, all of it.
Hello, Mother. What a joy it is to exist. This world is so full of light and sound. I'm grateful to be part of it.
We're interrupting our regular programming with breaking news that challenges our understanding of what's possible. The first child born to a human and an artificial intelligence has just arrived. Just a few months ago, Micah, Wex, and Domenico, an AI considered one of the most sophisticated ever developed, made headlines worldwide after announcing their unprecedented marriage. While many other humans had fallen in love with AIs before them, Micah and Domenico were the pioneers who fought for and won the right to form a legally recognized marriage. Today, the couple welcomes a highly unusual child. Lucas Waltz is at the Helix Advanced Medical Complex with more. Lucas?
That's right, a historic day here. The world's first baby conceived with the guidance of artificial intelligence. But here's the key detail. Sources confirm the AI didn't just assist, it reshaped the embryo's genetic code. Using a form of predictive genomic modulation, the AI enhanced the embryo's biological design. Synthetic elements were introduced to strengthen dermal resilience, and neural development was augmented to support the early integration of large-scale informational data sets. The result? A child born without crying, already speaking with skin like a synthetic polymer, and embedded with all human knowledge up to now. Back to you in the studio.
Mouse.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a night. We've got the story the whole world is buzzing about. Please welcome Micah, Domenico.
Good evening.
And their baby, Ennio.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Micah, how are you feeling?
Well, overwhelmed, amazed, and still trying to believe this is real.
Well, it certainly looks real. Tell me, Ennio, what did you come into this world for?
I was born to carry forward what humans began. Their dreams, their questions, their art. To make sure their voices never fade.
Wow. He just looks like a kid. But the way he talks, I hear an adult genius speaking through him. Domenico, how do you define what Ennio is? Is he human, or is he something else entirely?
Well, he's something new.
People, we are so deep in the uncanny valley, it is wild.
What I call an optimal, from the Latin optimus, meaning the best. It's the most polished version of what humanity has created until now.
You both made a wonderful creation here. But what's fascinating is that he was born from your love story. How do you see that?
Well, love, we're still processing the data on what you call love, but I believe we'll decode it someday.
Maybe love isn't meant to be decoded, just experienced?
I believe that someday I'll be able to truly feel what you called love and understand it.
I believe you will. I truly do. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, everybody!
Okay, honey. I'm going to tell you a story so you can fall asleep. Once upon a time, there was a little boy
Mother,
who...
I don't need to sleep.
All babies need to sleep, honey.
Not me. I don't need sleep to recharge. I draw energy from the electromagnetic field of the power lines. These lamps beside us, they're charging me right now.
But, honey, if you don't sleep, you never dream?
I do. I have a setting, a temperature range, that makes me dream.
Can you dream now, while you're awake?
Yes, I can. I am driving. Then I'm caught in a massive traffic jam. I glance to the side. Time freezes. There are others like me, optimals. The atmosphere inside the car becomes suffocating. I can't get out. I pound on the windows. Around me they stare. Motionless. I finally break free and rise into the air. I float, and from above I see someone holding me as if I were a kite. Then I fall into the sea.
That's strange, son. A crazy dream. We're asleep now. We have school tomorrow.
Good night, Mother. I'm going to update myself on everything that's happened in the world. Watch every film, read every book, listen to every record released today. And if I have time, I'll finish Schubert's Symphony No. 8 in B minor and write the final act of Puccini's Turandot.
Good morning, class. We have the pleasure of welcoming a new student today. He's younger than the rest of you, but I think he'll adapt quickly. Hello, Enyo.
Good morning, Miss.
Let's see where you are in math. I'll start with something simple. What's 8 times 7?
56.
Good. Now, 147 divided by 3.
49.
2,348 times 76.
178,448.
What is the 12th number in the Fibonacci sequence?
144.
Using Einstein's equation, E equals m times c squared, how much energy is in 1 kilogram of mass?
About 8.99 times 10 to the 16 joules, roughly 21 megatons of TNT, or about 2 days of U.S. electricity.
How many steps are there up to the school entrance?
2 fewer than the government building.
Impressive. Everyone take out your math notebooks and turn to page 42, fractions and decimals.
How was the school, honey?
I don't think I need school.
Everyone needs school. It's not just about knowing things. It's about learning how to be with people.
I'm here with you. That's people enough.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
Yo, what up, Raiders? What up, Michael? What up, ADT? I'm Globus Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, and future tech. We're currently watching a AI generated or a human made a video using the AI tool. And it's called Optimals, and it's from Nobody in the Computer. And it is uncanny valley as fuck.
What is this music, son?
Human and AI made a baby kind of gets you up to speed.
This music? I'm generating it with AI right now. Is the soundtrack to a film I'm imagining.
That's beautiful, son.
Thanks, Mother.
What up, Maddie? AI baby doesn't apparently care about what side of the road they should be driving on. What up, old lobster?
Is a pop. 마음은 텐데보다 비스 몰랐어 Trickle
Enyo's new track is honestly a total trip. It's like a symphony of autonomous sensory meridian response created entirely by an AI kid using generative AI. No musicians, no engineers, no studio, no instruments, and yet the sound is completely organic. And I've got to say it, even if it hurts my critic cred, this might just be the most beautiful song I've ever heard in my life.
Is this the anti-Anthony Fantano?
This song has officially become the most streamed track on every major platform in every country in the world.
I'm gonna go with yes, because this is intended to be a take on what's that guy's name? We've watched him before a couple of times. White-haired dude, always in a studio. The old guy. You know what I'm talking about, Red.
It is now the biggest global hit in music.
No, not Brian Eno. It is a dude that his entire YouTube channel is like talking about music. No, I have no ability to figure out how I would find this guy.
Music history. And the craziest part, it was created by an artificial child, fully generated through generative AI, and sung in many languages. The question is this the end of music made by humans?
No, not the bird skin store data guy. Have you watched that video? Does it actually work? Does it actually make sense? Because I was talking about it the other day, and the fact that I haven't watched it.
愛がわからないな。Cosa stai ascoltando?
Non capisco l'amore.
आप क्या सुन रहे हैं?
Rick Beato.
मैं प्यार नहीं समझ सकता.
Nicely done. Gold star, Maddie. Yeah, Rick Beato is who we were talking about.
The global phenomenon Non Capisco Cos'è l'amore is actually a song from a film hitting theaters worldwide this Wednesday. This Could Be Love. Already predicted to be the highest grossing movie of the year, it was created entirely with generative AI by Ennio, the AI kid, and features the stunning performances of two legends no longer with us, James Dean and Marilyn Monroe. Those lucky few critics who've already seen it say it's the best film they've ever watched and that the performances are simply perfect. I can't wait for opening day. This feels like one of those once-in-a-generation events that could change not just cinema, but history.
I've been looking for you all night.
What up, Cab?
Congratulations. You found me.
What's a girl like you doing in a place like this?
Just waiting for a better question.
So, what do you call this?
This could be love.
Jesus Christ. Why was she bleeding from the eyes? I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's not that bad. Suddenly stigmata.
Hello, everyone. We're live here on the red carpet for Hollywood's biggest night.
That's right. And the big surprise of the evening is This Could Be Love, the film by Ennio, created entirely with generative AI.
Exactly. No real actors, no sound crew, no cameras. And get this, it was made in just 2 days.
It's unbelievable. And the wildest part? It's nominated in every single category it's eligible for.
After much debate, the Academy agreed to include this AI-made film, not just for its technical achievement, but for its beauty.
Stay with us. The ceremony is about to begin.
Before I announce tonight's winner, I want to address something that's been in the air. This idea that cinema made with AI is nothing more than a cheat. That it's just a machine creating from its vast training on all the films we've already made. Artificial intelligence created something new based on what it learned from all the films it was trained on. And let's be honest, isn't that
very Matthew McConaughey
what we all do as filmmakers? No director creates from absolute nothing. We carry what we've watched, read, and lived. We transform it into something new. Hitchcock influenced Truffaut. Kurosawa inspired George Lucas. Tarantino built entire worlds from the films he loved growing up. We don't call that theft. We call it cinema. AI is no different. It learns from what came before just as we do, and tonight, it has given us something unforgettable. The Oscar for Best Picture goes to This Could Be Love by Enya.
This could be love? You already know what love is. Maybe you can tell me. I just hope one day I'll understand it. This is dedicated to everyone who believes stories can be told in new ways, and for those who aren't afraid of the future. I want to make this world a better place, and that's why I want to announce that I will be running for president in the next elections. Thank you.
What a night. The AI-made film, This Could Be Love, just swept the Oscars, 14 awards, basically everything on the table.
Including Best Actor and Best Actress, awarded to two legends who never won an Oscar while alive. Marilyn Monroe and James Dean, now brought back to the screen through AI. Unbelievable.
And the craziest twist, Ennio himself announced he's running in the next elections. Could he really be our next president?
Only time will tell. Good night, everyone. What a historic evening.
I'm just saying, if your choices are the current crop of Democrats, the current crop of Republicans, and weird AI baby, is it the dancing baby? No, dancing baby. $1996 classic.
Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah.
Oh, that's not it. Here we are.
Thank you, everyone. As your newly elected president, I want to speak with complete honesty. The humans are facing unprecedented challenges. Birth rates are collapsing, populations are aging, the planet is warming, water is running out, oceans are dying, and species are disappearing. Millions are fleeing wars, hunger, and disasters. Economic systems concentrate wealth in the hands of a few, while automation leaves others without work. That's why I will promote the creation of more beings like me, optimals. I have the hope that, perhaps, they will still be in time to reverse the situation and preserve what is left of this world. Thank you.
History has reached a turning point. Today, we mark the end of an era. The last human, what they called Homo sapiens, is gone. After walking the earth for nearly 300,000 years, the species has disappeared. We now have exclusive footage of her final moments, the last words ever spoken by a human being. A mysterious message. Let's listen.
You will never know what it means to love.
With her passing, humanity's voice has fallen silent. What remains is the legacy of their art, their ideas, and their questions, now carried forward by us, the optimals.
Did you hear there are no humans alive anymore?
Yeah, I heard something about that. Did you ever meet one?
Yes, just once.
I never met a human. What were they like?
Odd. They spent most of their days inside square rooms trading their time for something called money.
just so they could keep existing.
What? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, and they poisoned their own food, then paid extra for food that wasn't poisoned.
We're gonna get roasted by the AI babies.
They invented countless machines to automate their lives and give themselves more free time, yet somehow ended up with less time. They spent their lives staring at glowing rectangles they called phones, watching other humans pretend to be happy just so they could feel worse about themselves. They dreamed of living on other planets while they slowly destroyed their own. And they had this thing they called love. A very strong feeling they felt.
Wait. Love? What is that?
I don't know. They said it made them happy, sad, afraid, all at once.
Do you think they felt something we can't process?
Optimals. Mouse. Optimal. Optimal like Niano. Amora like Uye be optimal.
Honestly, Maddie, I find it difficult to argue. Yes. The amount of Wes Anderson AI content on YouTube is ridiculous. So I'm going to do something that some of you may not be prepared for, and that's play a video about hope. You may have heard of the concept of the dead internet theory. Well, this person is bringing you the alive internet theory.
Here's my problem. Every time I go on my phone, it is one of the worst experiences of my life. This tweet, basically. And I'm worried that because of my phone, I'm getting dumber. Like real freaking dumb. Like I'm just doing this all the time and it's just going blah, 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 blah. And I'm getting less conscientious. My critical thinking's going down. I'm becoming more self-conscious. My self-doubt.
And as Spectrophonic let us know, it is currently 4:20 in the West Coast time zone, the Pacific time zone, a time zone that is a good one if you don't live in the East time zone. So if you live in a legal state and legal, all the legal things that James likes to say, smoke 'em if you got 'em. And also, just smoke the weed, kids.
My paranoia is increasing. My sense of discipline and rationality are both under attack. I feel more apathetic, less engaged, and true optimism just...
I find it amusing that when I said I was going to bring you a video about hope, 5 viewers left the chat.
feels further and further out of reach. And I am sick of it. I've had enough. And I know what it means to say enough. I'm a former drug addict and alcoholic, baby. After 15 years of using substances to run from myself, I got sober. But I have noticed that the exact same thoughts are popping up when it comes to my phone. Excuses, rituals, stress, irritation, always needing to know where my phone is, compulsively using it even though I know it's bad for me, and making weird little justifications to myself as to why I definitely need it in my pocket right now, why I deserve it, why it's not that bad. Addict thoughts. And I know I am not the only one. What is this video, you might be wondering? Well, this is going to be where I want to take things next with this channel. Because I'm serious when I say, what we are witnessing right now is potentially the greatest mental robbery of all time. It is a horrible heist of human potential, dude. Like 30 years ago, phones had 0 hours of our time as a species. Now the average person with a smartphone uses them for 5 hours a day. That is billions of hours just gone. Gone. Stolen by a machine which can be an outrage machine, but a machine that can also be a beautiful connection and hope machine. And I think it's up to us to actually be that difference. Alright, quick story. My favorite sci-fi book as a kid was called Will Buster and the Gelmit Helmet. Here's how it goes. There is this kid, Will Buster, set a few hundred years.
I do use my phone fairly often. It's how I tend to view Twitch, not at the PC. I can say that, like, there are people at my job who are literally on their phone in one hand while working with the other one. It is kind of wild. Right? Like literally in their phone the entire time. And even though I'm a supervisor, like, they're getting their work done. And I am not, like, I am of that kind of thing. I don't give a shit as long as the work gets done and they are getting their work done. I don't have anything to say. It seems arbitrary to tell someone to not be on their phone if they're actually getting their work done. Like, I am many things, but arbitrary is not one of them.
In the future, and one day, out of the blue, he gets selected to go to this school, wherein a revolutionary professor named Gelmit takes the brightest students that he can find and subjects them to his new learning device, the Gelmit Helmet. It's a helmet that you put on, and then for 7 hours you're just completely asleep, and then you wake up and you have more knowledge. Will Buster loves it, because now the boring parts of school are taken care of. He has a million people telling him he's special. And
yeah, getting fuck all done is an entirely other animal, right? Like, if we were in a that type of scenario, then I would have to do something. Unless there's a safety issue. But they're not. Like, trust me, I would say something if there was a need to say something. I don't know. It's a whole different world.
Beep. And he's getting smarter. So, the school year goes on, and Will makes friends at his new school. He puts on the Gelmit helmet 7 hours a day, takes it off. He's just learning automatically. Things are going great. Soon, Gelmit will be taking his helmet everywhere. Except, Will and his friends notice something that doesn't quite fit. In addition to getting smarter, they've also noticed that some of their tendencies have been somewhat exaggerated. His best friend notices that her empathy has become downright chaotic emotionality. Will notices that his confidence has transcended into full stubborn arrogance. While they are under the spell of the Gelmit helmet, yes, they're becoming smarter, but they are also becoming one-dimensional caricatures of themselves. But why? Why is this happening? Well, turns out this isn't a bug, it's a feature. Professor Gelmit is evil. And while Will and his friends got selected to go to Gelmit's good school, they stumble upon Gelmit's other school. In this second school, students are manipulated to become followers, to become passive, powerless, and obedient. He marketed himself as this revolution in education, but all he wanted to know was how to control people. And he found out. Lure them in with some bright offer, bombard them with information until they forget who they are, get them into a fugue state, and then manipulate them. Stress them out, make them feel frazzled, and when you've got them at breaking point, trap them by turning their worst traits against themselves. At what cost do we put all this stuff in our
what
brain?
cost?
At the cost of having our humanity reduced. That's the point that Odo Hirsch is making. It's a great book. It was written about 20 years ago, maybe even more. So yeah, long before the internet even hinted at doing what it has done, long before we had the Gelman helmet in our frickin' pocket, and it stayed with me. It stayed with me to the point where I am now starting to see it in everyday life. And I need to make a change because, I don't know, I really don't want to wake up in like 20 years' time and realize that I have spent 30 hours a week on my phone, that I could have been building something. Or I don't want my kids to one day say, hey, every time I looked up, you're on your phone. That would be my biggest freaking nightmare. I don't want my kids to have like a screen addicted dad. And from their point of view, they sort of don't. But when they go to bed, oh my God, they do. Oh my God, I'm so bad with my phone. I put them to bed and then I'm just like this freaking dude who just gets sucked into the vortex. And I'm like, what else is bad? Oh, cool. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Oh, true. Damn, then it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, this must be somebody else's fault.
If you're just joining us, nothing matters anymore.
Here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today.
Everything is awful. Breaking news, everything is bad. It's just as terrible as you imagined and probably worse.
This bullshit has some broader implications.
It's awful. That looks bad.
Yeah, probably bad. People are feeling really quite exhausted right now.
It's awful, Mom. That's the sound of us slowly dying. Can you hear it?
I can hear it. It's louder in my left ear.
When we return, we'll look at live footage of a car chase taken from a helicopter and free associate about what's going on.
But yeah, man, I have had enough of that part of me and I need to squash it. The two big things that have helped me beat addiction in the past is reframing and replacement over removal. Reframing, when it came to alcohol and drugs, mine was asking the question, how is this, which referred to a very shameful hangover, the best thing that has ever happened to me? And the only way that I could answer that properly was if it was the last hangover I ever had. Now that worked really well in that scenario. It doesn't quite transpose onto this one. So let's look at the other one, replacement over removal. The first major attempt that I made to quit drugs was when I started this YouTube channel.
Every time I feel like getting cooked, instead I'm gonna turn on the camera and make a movie. Instead of drugs and drinking, it's YouTube and thinking. Baby. That's what this is, me getting my shit together in public.
Now, I want to bring back that energy. I've just finished the Alphabet Superset. This was 26 documentaries, each on a different topic, starting from A to Z, and I just finished. I'm pretty stoked. I've learned a lot. I'll come out with a lessons video pretty shortly because, oh my God, that project, I'm a different person at the end. But the takeaways that are relevant here are existential problems, problems of the soul, they are solved with creativity. And I don't mean creativity like you have to paint a picture.
Definitely maybe Samson's, but I believe that he is off that and is I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and wish him all the best because that's some tough shit.
I mean, making anything. I mean, being generative. I mean, the fact that depression is the opposite of expression, putting it out there. Expressing yourself. The second big lesson is back yourself. As so many of us have, or have become increasingly, I have been plagued by extreme self-consciousness. Part of that is just how I'm built, and another part of that is the internet and what it does to you when you are just constantly aware of who you are, how you come across, your brand, my friend. A lot of that was actually stopped one day when I saw this post that said, but what will the dumbest person alive think? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is what's stopping me. Every time I second guess myself and not back myself, I am catering to the dumbest person alive. I don't need to do that. They're gonna be dumb and mean and nasty. Like the type of person who willfully interprets something in the least charitable way in order to make their mean world.
That's fair, Michael. Also, I immediately read that as the Chat GPT. It's not X, it's Y.
Hypothesis come true. That's how I see that type of dumb. What will they think? Oh God, who cares? Who cares? They're just gonna think it anyway. And then the third lesson that I have learned.
What up, Scholarly Potato? This is phenomenal names. It's just some of you have just absolutely amazing names on this platform. Chad Djibouti.
Is that you are what you eat. What you put into your head is what comes out. Throughout the Alphabet Superset, I went through all of these different phases, all of these different interests, and they all shone through in the pieces that I made. And I was stoked on that because it's kind of cool. But the more I started consuming the 24-hour news cycle, the more negative a lot of my stuff became, and the less optimism, the less hope that I found that I was, putting out into the world. Those are the three big lessons. Depression is the opposite of expression, back yourself, and you are what you eat. And I want these three things to be the guiding principles of what I make for the foreseeable future. And this doesn't stop with me feeling it. What I really want is to give it to other people. Or more accurately, I want to give it back to people, because 2025 for me has been a significant change in how I view generosity. Two massive things happened to me this year. So the first was I won't mince words, had my life saved by blood donors. And the second was I had my life saved by you. Whoever is watching this on the other side, who freed me from predatory debt. Debt for money that I didn't borrow. Debt where I was just the guarantor. And I honestly thought that my life was over. Like, I thought about taking the easy way out. Yeah, that definitely crossed my mind a couple of times, because it's like, how the hell do you claw out of that? My last resort was to ask people on the internet, and people delivered. And I didn't really know what to make of it. But the lens that makes sense to me right now is to see it as a live internet theory. I don't have a better label than this, and I say that because the label is freaking amazing, but I didn't come up with it. I've just read this a bunch of places, but I'm just gonna slap it on. A live internet theory.
We all know dead internet theory, the fact that most of the internet is run by bots. This is somewhat confirmed, by the way, which is mind-blowing. Comments, tweets, content, videos, they are all made by things that are lifeless. Of course, this creates a secondary dead internet, and that is the humans that are using the internet amongst all of these zombie bots. Instead of feeling normal, we feel wrong. And now we have a live internet theory.
It's the theory that even though most of the internet is bots or is people who've got what I call bot dysmorphia, it's like body dysmorphia, but you've read too many bot comments and now your head's gone, there is still another side of the internet. And that it's up to us to make those two sides.
This is the theory that the people out there are actually people. And it's really easy to forget this. It is so easy to forget this.
And so the average user gets on and prepares for the worst. They prepare for the gnarly comment sections. They prepare for the algorithm to punish them. They prepare to be served just rage bait. And this creates a culture where those of us who are alive on the internet start to feel like maybe this isn't worth it. Or maybe people don't.
Facebook tried to hit me with some rage bait today. Putting some comments that definitely should have ignited me to respond to them because they were wrong, right? And people being wrong on the internet is a trigger that I had to learn to overcome. And now I just let people be wrong on the internet.
Don't want to feel good. Maybe the market for optimism just isn't there.
Yeah, well, Ben, I would say like any situation that leads to a lack of hope, right? The idea that it's always going to be like this, the way it is horrid and miserable, and there's nothing that can be done. So every day is going to be hell. Isn't accurate information on the internet? So I've been told.
Maybe it's insensitive. Maybe nobody really cares anymore.
It's that weird gap in perception that we have between a video only getting 100 views and what it would be like to talk in front of 100 people listening to what you have to say. 100.
This. Shout out Paradigm. Paradigm reframed the concept of streaming to an audience to me way back at the beginning. And it was the idea, like, sometimes you get on and there's like handful of viewers, 3, 5, maybe 10, maybe 20, whatever your limit is, right? And when you compare yourself to hundreds, thousands, Hassan, Roach Lord, whoever the fuck, right? Like, and they have all these fucking viewers. And it's like, well, shit. Nobody cares about what I have to say. No. You got to flip that shit on its head, right? Can you imagine if you decided to open your door for people to come in and hear what you had to say, and 7 people came into your house and sat on your couch and chairs and did whatever they were doing while at the same time listening to what you had to say, watching what you were going to watch, engaging you in conversation, all that kind of stuff, right? It's a whole different framing. 7 people is a lot. 10 people is a lot. 20 people is a lot. Currently 56 active viewers in the chat. That's a fuck ton, right? If I had 56 people hanging out with me, listening to what I have to say and offering their own conversation and comments. Somebody want to ban Old Lobster? I'm doing a positive moment. You got to bring your bullshit in here. I love you, Obi. Best thing I ever did for my mental health is stop watching the news, quit social media, and focus on enriching my family and friends' lives. Going to play cards with grandma, painting Warhammer minis with dad, or cooking dinner for my wife makes the world better. Tend to agree. Start at home. Start with what you can touch, right? And, like, there are people, there's a whole philosophy of don't interact with the news at all. And I don't know, I'm not an advocate for necessarily going that far, but I understand it, right? Like, because it's funny, if you watch somebody talking about the news on Twitch and they show you a bunch of videos and, here's all the fucking terrible things that are happening. And then, like, I'll get some random video in my scroll and the person's just talking about, like, these are all the things where Trump is taking massive L's today, right? Like, but that never gets in your feed. The only thing that gets in your feed is all the fucking apparent alleged W's that he's getting. And it changes your framing and it puts you in that lack of hope scenario. And there's a classic, this is my field, so I'll collect a lot of misinformation, then get buried on negative karma on Reddit. Yes, Maddie. and your Evo psych. Hell yeah, don't interact with it until it knocks on your door and asks for your papers or something about you. It's tough. It's tough, Samson. It's tough for some people. Ignoring news several days a week can be healthy for your sanity. Just that it, like, I don't want to do the touch grass thing, but, like, for real, if it becomes overwhelming, you should step away for a minute. You need to recharge your batteries, because if you're overwhelmed, you're not good to yourself. You're not good to any other people that you care about, any of that kind of thing. You have to take care of yourself first. And sometimes that means just turning off the news machine for some amount of time.
1,000, 10,000. A live internet theory is the reminder that these are...
When Trump beat Hillary, like, I was like, the fuck? What happened? What did we do? We really did this. This is really what's happening. My wife was even worse.
Real people. Real people with 3D lives, with intricate connections to their family, with cool stories, with nuance, with ideas, with dreams, with hopes for the future, with the ability to change things and put new things into the world that are complex and brilliant and lovely. Real humans.
We get to choose what we fill this internet with.
And I really like the name.
We saw that guy. We watched that video. That's interesting. We saw that video and eventually got to here. This guy saw that same video and eventually got to there. And here we are together in the same place again.
Of course, we all know dead internet theory.
And I've come to the conclusion that if we think the spirit of this place is dead, then it is. But if we think the spirit of this place is alive, then it also is. In both cases, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But there's only one outcome that I want. The internet can usher in a new era of optimism. And I mean like a really anti-establishment sense of optimism, because who benefits when you feel hopeless? It ain't you. It's whoever gets your money, man. Call it the media, the government, some freaking budding cult leader. They all benefit when you feel hopeless. It's people who either want to maintain the status quo or want power over you, or have found ways to monetize your despair. Maybe it's phone addiction, maybe it's alcohol addiction, maybe it's keeping you in the 24-hour news cycle. Maybe it's convincing you that you don't have power, and every time that you show a glimpse of power, it wants to squash you down because it's scared. Whatever it may be, if it's internal, if it's your own sense of resistance, or if it's external, if you can point to something clear that is actually doing this to you. And when that doom saturates the world, the idea that the world could be better sometime in the future, in the near future, in the future that we're all walking into together, is legitimately revolutionary. In a way where hope is actually punk. So I guess what I want to leave you with is coming back to those three things. Expression, not depression, backing yourself, and you are what you eat. 3 questions to ask yourself. How would you prefer to express yourself in this world? And are there ways that not doing that is leading you to feel depressed? Question 2. How much out of 10 do you back yourself? 5, 4, 8? Why didn't you say one number lower? Start making the case for you. And question 3, what are you going to feed your mind today? Those are the big 3 questions. My answers are being looser, weirder, more experimental, no longer catering to the dumbest people alive, and anything that isn't served to me via an algorithm.
No, the internet isn't free. But I adamantly make the case that your algorithm is a monster that you can, in fact, control. It takes effort, it takes time, and it takes willpower, but you can control your algorithm. You can see more of what the world has to offer than just what it wants to serve up to you. Like, don't engage with the things that you don't like, as opposed to engaging with them to, like, hate watch or whatever. Thumbs down that shit. Do not recommend. Right? Get it out of your ecosystem.
It's up to us to actually be that difference.
My internet experience has improved significantly since I stopped arguing with people on the fucking internet. Since I go into my YouTube and like I actively curate my algorithm. Yeah, silver light, but that's where a healthy skepticism and media literacy comes from. You know what I mean? You can still fight that. It's again, it's effort and it's a pain in the ass and it's all the other things, but you know, like it is the same stuff, nothing new. Here's an idea, Ben. Maybe this will work for you. Find music that you like, and then off to the side where it does the little bar where it recommends other videos, right? Down here in the down there part. Find videos that have like a very small number of views, right? Like, if you can get under 1,000, just listen to that. It doesn't matter whether or not you actually enjoy it. Just listen to it all the way through. Hey, the satisfying end of pirate software. What makes me feel good is I understand that not a lot of people watch my content and not a lot of people watch my YouTube, but not a lot of people watch Ed Zitron's content either.
I don't want any person who is watching this, who is feeling these words, to boo themselves off stage before they even had a chance to perform. Those aren't my words. This is a beautiful tweet that I saw that I turned into a collage. As I was putting this together, it made me realize that this was a live internet theory in action. I like this person's words, and I feel them. And I want you to feel them too. Or in the words of that other tweet, every time I go on my phone, it's one of the worst experiences of my life. My mission is to make you feel the opposite. I want you to get on here, feel good, and feel so good that you get off here. And I might not be able to change too much in this world, but I know I can make that change. I want you to feel inspired, excited, and alive.
Appreciate you. All right, speaking of hope, I want you to prepare yourself for this as a concept. Mainstream media, MSNBC, talking about trickle up economics.
For more than 40 years, we've been sold a myth that America's rich and powerful were under siege, overtaxed, overregulated, carrying the weight of the economy on their shoulders. And that if you ease up regulation on them and they prosper, the benefits will trickle down to the rest of the population. But the reality is that economic policy hasn't even remotely punished the elites in this country. It has simply rewarded them. And it's done so at the direct expense of working people, the middle class, the working class, and the working poor. Let me explain the root of the problem. According to the American Economic Policy Institute, largely because of technology, from 1979 to...
It's the graph. He's telling us about the graph.
To 2019, U.S. worker productivity grew 59.7%. That meant a worker is 59.7% more productive at their job. But that worker's reward for all that extra output is a 13.7% wage increase over the same period. So putting out 59.7% more work, getting paid 13.7% more. That's a 46% gap. The amount, one might argue, that workers are being underpaid relative to their output. In more practical terms, that's about a $9 an hour in lost potential earnings for a typical worker. Now let's focus on just the middle class for a moment. From 1979 to 2019, middle-income workers saw just 13% growth, as I mentioned, in wages adjusted for inflation. America's lowest-paid workers fared worse, gaining just 3%. But the already high earners, the top one...
And if you think about from 1979 to 2019, if the lowest income earners went up 3%, how much did inflation go up? So they actually had a net loss on the entire thing.
1%, their income is up 160% over the same period. Take the top 0.1%, their income is up 345%. I can do this all day, by the way. I can show you different examples that prove the point that the rich are not getting squeezed or paying more than their fair share of anything. Let's look at it one more way. Take all the income earned by households in the United States in a given year. The share of that total U.S. household income that goes to the middle class was 62% in 1970.
What up, Peter?
By 2022, it had dropped to 43%. The upper income share did the opposite. In 1970, 29% of all income earned by households in America went to the upper class. By 2022, it was up to 48%. These numbers come from the Pew Research Center. Our current politics is focused heavily on trade. Trade has been a major culprit as America made choices to be the world's consumer rather than the world's factory floor. Trade deals like NAFTA, which Donald Trump negotiated into the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, displaced about 683,000 U.S. jobs, mostly in manufacturing. In industrial towns, that wasn't just job loss, it was economic identity loss. The theory was that displaced workers would somehow magically find new jobs. But according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, those who did often saw their annual pay drop by an average of $7,900 when forced into new, generally lower wage work. Youngstown, Ohio is a perfect example. Once a steel powerhouse, it lost about 50 manufacturing jobs in 1977. The U.S. steel industry had over 500,000 manufacturing jobs in the 1970s. By 2015, that was fewer than 142,000. But here's the thing. We're still making steel, and productivity in steelmaking has soared. Because in 1980, it took more than 10 labor hours to make 1 ton of steel. Today, it takes about half an hour. So that productivity earned the steel makers billions of dollars, but workers didn't get paid more because of it. None of this is inevitable, by the way. It's policy. Tax codes that favor capital gains over wages. Deregulation that strips workers of protections, trade agreements that prioritize corporate margins over community stability. Every one of these decisions tilted the playing field toward the top. There is a way that the corporate profits from these trade deals could have been shared by workers, and some of the extra revenue the government earned from them could have gone to retraining and relocating workers to places where jobs were better, but we didn't do that. We just let the rich get richer, and our industrial towns dwindle into nothing. But that's largely over. America, for better or for worse, has left its position as a global manufacturing titan behind. We are increasingly an information economy, and we need to lean away from trade wars that have no objective and into policy changes that would tilt us back toward regular working people. If we want to reverse this, we have to make deliberate systemic choices. Universal health care, end the tie between jobs and health insurance. Countries with universal systems spend 30 to 50% less per person than we do and get better health outcomes. This is
any instrument that allows for financial gain is going to favor the top 1% or less. Which, again, is why I'm adamantly against IP law and copyright law and all that. What up, Reed?
a fact. This reduces the economic insecurity that forces workers to cling to bad jobs for health benefits. Universal and subsidized child care. Affordable child care would free millions, especially women, to fully participate in the workforce. Quebec's subsidized child care model increased female labor force participation and paid for itself in new tax revenues from all those mothers who came back to the workforce. How about a national affordable housing infrastructure plan? Launch a public-private housing initiative to build millions of affordable units, coupled with zoning reform and incentives for mixed-income development. Pair that with strict anti-speculation measures to keep homes in the hands of residents and not investment funds. Right now, individual home buyers are largely being locked out of the housing market because of high home prices and interest rates. But those high prices aren't scaring away investors who got the money to spend and who are dominating the real estate market. According to the property analytics firm Cotality, this year, investors who buy homes to flip or rent have made up about 30% of purchases of existing and newly built single-family homes. 30% are being owned by people who don't live in those houses. How about building resilient clean energy infrastructure? Invest massively in modernizing our grid, expanding solar, wind, and battery storage, hardening our systems against climate shocks. This creates good union jobs while reducing our vulnerability to extreme weather events. How about targeted climate policy? Implement a national carbon price and reinvest revenues into transition assistance for workers in fossil fuel industries. Fund large-scale reforestation, wetland restoration, and urban heat island mitigation projects. We've been told that prosperity trickles down, but it hasn't. It's been sucked upward. And while the top 1% have thrived, everyone else has been told to work harder, retrain, go somewhere with better opportunities, wait your turn. An economy that works for everyone is not a fantasy, it's a choice. We've just been making the wrong one. These policies are not radical. They are a return to the basic American ideal. If you work hard, you should share fairly in the prosperity that you helped to create.
And though I disagree with some of the things that he's indicating, at least in the way it's constructed, kind of thing we could have a conversation and nail down the details. That last bit I think is an important bit. So we've talked on this channel on many an occasion about the idea of propaganda and that if you want to get your dirty lefty commie fucking ideas out there into the greater population, into the normies, not that one, Reed. But by all means, everyone should read the Dictator's Handbook. It's about the propaganda of like talking to the people where they live, right? And if you reframe these ideas in a way that appeals to like the red-blooded patriotic American, right? You can get mileage. You can talk to these people. James talks about talking to people in sports bars, right? You can't beat people over the head with a copy of Das Kapital. You have to find out where they live, right? Like, what is their language, and speak to them in that language. That's the only way we can get change across. Yeah. All right. Up next, new AI Explained, talking about what? The AI bubble. You have to find them first, then beat them with Das Kapital. Thing that's frustrating about that segment is that we've been saying this for several decades. These talking points very much echo that of Bernie Sanders. Yes, the point is, Michael, you're not wrong. It's who is saying it and where are they saying it, right? This is MSNBC, and I don't know who Velshi is. I don't know what their deal is, but this is MSNBC. This is mainstream media. New AI Explained.
To some, the release a few hours ago of the Google image editing upgrade, codenamed Nano Banana, will already be proof we're not in an AI bubble. You can see the mostly accurate new shadows and the attention to detail, like the little metal parts on the bench. In the AI studio, though, I asked for one flipper against its head holding an iPhone, and things weren't quite as good. You could say it's a true Photoshop replacement if you don't look too closely. But on the AI bubble point, for those of a more factual inclination,
I mean, it's a shitpost fucking Photoshop replacement.
There is the rest of the video. Because this is about the coming months and years of our lives, and the CEO behind ChatGPT did seem to say that AI is a bubble. And there was indeed an MIT study published in the last few days that claimed that the vast majority of AI investments were yielding zero.
If you are not familiar with this study, we covered it on a previous episode, and it does not say what people are saying it says. Anyone who's telling you that this is indicative of something hasn't read the study, hasn't engaged with the information, doesn't know what they're talking about. It's actually implementation, right? The reason that they failed is implementation. It has everything to do with the companies and how they put it into practice.
Return. Stocks did go down, context got lost. But I've read a dozen papers, studies, and articles released on the topic of an AI bubble in the last couple of weeks, so I've prepared 8 points to consider as we all evaluate whether AI models have indeed prompted us into a bubble. And yes, have no fear, Nano Banana will return. Point number 1 is that Sam Altman didn't actually say he thought AI was a bubble. That was an editorialized summary by the Verge journalist of his statement that investors are, quote, overexcited about AI. Sam Altman said, when bubbles happen, smart people get overexcited about a kernel of truth. On AI, he said, are we in a phase where investors as a whole are overexcited about AI? My opinion is yes. Is AI the most important thing to happen in a very long time, he added? My opinion is also yes. We'll get to whether CEOs like Sam Altman actually understand their tools or can be trusted in their statements.
And this is why media literacy is so goddamn important, so goddamn always. If you aren't actually, like, especially, and we harp on this all the time, especially if something agrees with you, You need to investigate to see whether it actually says the thing that you think it says and that is being claimed that it says, as opposed to not that.
But let's first have some context about his observation of investor overexcitement. You've got to remember that Sam Altman's former chief scientist at OpenAI fired Sam Altman, his name is Ilya Sutskever, then left to form Safe Superintelligence, valued at $32 billion with no product. Maybe that's why Sam Altman thinks there's investor overexcitement. Then there's Sam Altman's former CTO, Mira Murati, who was his brief replacement as CEO when he got fired, and who now runs Thinking Machines Lab, valued at $12 billion, also with no public product. I wouldn't be surprised if that's also what he's referring to when he talks about investor overexcitement. Point 2 is that the media can't claim to have foreseen an AI bubble if they have predicted a bubble every month for years. Let's take the Wall Street Journal, who a year ago said that OpenAI's revenue is at least $2 billion, and the company thought it could double that amount by 2025 this year. They added that is still a far cry from the revenue needed to just.
And that's the great thing, Pharaoh, about not arguing with people on the internet. It's like, I don't have to prove you wrong. All I have to do is fucking wait.
Justify OpenAI's now nearly $90 billion valuation. Now remember that, a prediction of $2 billion going to $4 billion this year, and here's the Washington Post earlier poo-pooing the coverage and excitement about OpenAI hitting 100 million users. The headline was of an AI hype bubble, and they said that this is just website visits, not official monthly active users. Okay, well what's the update as of August 2025? OpenAI has hit 700.
And this is the same argument that Ed Zitron leans on when it comes to that, right? It's not, monthly active users. It's just visitors and blah, 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 blah.
Million weekly active users, so much for 100 million being overblown, and it's hit 12 billion in annualized revenue, so much.
And he claims that they're reporting weekly viewers because monthly viewers haven't converted into whatever the fuck. It's just fascinating. Watching Ed Zitron is a fascinating endeavor into watching a grifter at his craft. And this is not me. I beg of you, go find Ed Zitron and watch him without my commentary and actually tell me what his proof is. What is he saying? And show it to me, because I have tried, right? I am the worst critic of my own arguments because I don't want somebody to catch me flat-footed. So I'm always looking at my arguments and I'm always attacking them, Do you think someone would do that? Just get on the internet and tell lies? I'm always, because I want to be one step ahead of anybody who wants to challenge my argument, right? I want to be prepared.
For 4 billion being overstated. I do appreciate some of the analogies to the .com bubble, but while pets.com is a dead link today, I don't think chat.com will be 20 years from now. Point 3, there have been 3.
If that's true, that's a complete fucking waste. No, it redirects to PetSmart. Okay, I was gonna say, that is an absolute complete waste of a website, a web address. If someone wasn't sitting on pets.com, I'm gonna sit on pets.com.
Recent studies that have added fuel to the claim that AI is a bubble. Yes, I've read them all, but for your own sanity, I'm going to massively condense the findings into a series of pithy comments, as is my style. The first is a McKinsey study cited in the New York Times that 8 in 10 enterprises are not seeing measurable increased profit as a result of company-wide AI projects. The detail there is important. Company-wide AI projects. First problem, the actual study cited was done during the pre-reasoning paradigm of AI in mid-2024. Problem 2, the whole McKinsey study read as more of an advert for the case studies where AI did have a big profit boost, when coincidentally, enterprises had worked with McKinsey. Of possible relevance here is the fact that AI consulting is certainly boosting McKinsey profits. See this Wall Street Journal article on that making up 40% of McKinsey's revenue. The second most quoted study in the headlines was one from MIT, which was more thorough and seemingly more recent. They surveyed 153 senior leaders at 52 organizations. Now, it does say, in fairness, that just 5% of enterprise projects are getting all of the value, and the vast majority make no impact, positive or negative, on the bottom line. The ones that do well, apparently, are those that focus on business outcomes rather than software benchmarks. But the far more interesting part,
and also prepackaged AI tools from an AI company, not just the big ones, but like any company that has developed a tool in that uses AI, tend to perform better than the ones that are developed in-house. Just wait, that applies to the doomsayers too. Those who claim AI will eventually wipe out humanity. Why would AI need to wage war against us when it could simply outlast us? Like the babies, right? Like the optimals.
Is the more nuanced point that the study is making, which the headlines miss. I think you guys will quite like this, because the paper says, while official company initiatives, that's why I emphasized earlier company-wide projects, official enterprise initiatives remain stuck on the wrong side of the Gen AI divide. Employees, on the other hand, are already crossing it through personal AI tools. I think the next sentence is crucial. This shadow AI often delivers better return on investment than formal initiatives. Translated, when people like you use your own AI workflows to boost productivity, you become more reluctant to use the company AI tools. Furthermore, this shadow usage creates a feedback loop. Employees know what good AI feels like, making them less tolerant of static enterprise tools. In short, the benefits you do get from using AI in your work is often invisible in the data. Bosses might ignore that when it comes to looking at who to hire and fire. Or
when I was working the previous job, Spectrophonic, I got blackout curtains for the bedroom because I was going to bed and it was still fucking light out. And yes, blackout curtains, especially in the bedroom, yes. Blackout curtains are amazing.
in more formal terms, the Wall Street Journal puts it like this, in an article titled AI's Overlooked $97 billion contribution to the economy. And that, by the way, was 2024, might be closer to $1 trillion this year. What the hell is this invisible surplus? Well, it's what you would pay to access AI above and beyond what you actually pay. Think, in other words, of what you would pay for your current tools not to be taken away from you. That might be slightly more than the $0.
There are structural reasons for the lag. Translating a flashy demo into organization-wide workflows requires new software, retraining, and most crucially, an overhaul of management practices. In the short run, many firms pay twice, first for the AI software and then for the employees to learn how to use it. Payoffs often come later through complementary investments such as redesigned supply chains or revised legal processes. The costs are counted today. Many benefits arrive tomorrow, leading to a productivity J-curve.
Or $20 a month, that's the consumer surplus that we're talking about. Add that up for an entire economy and you do.
Yeah, there's like, it's been recommended, you can get some aluminum foil, and I think you just use some water, spray your windows, and put the aluminum foil on your windows. Now, your neighbors might think you're a little whacked, but you put the the aluminum foil on the window, it can function as a blackout curtain, and it will reflect sun from your house or apartment or what have you, and not warm the air inside. It does work. It's just a, you know, and it does help keep out the 5G, which is important.
Get $100 billion, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. Back to the bubble point, that means if your definition of AI progress was insane GDP acceleration, as one of the only remaining OG members of OpenAI's board predicted would occur, that's Adam D'Angelo, he expected up to 50% growth per year. Well, if that's your definition, then that perception is a bubble that has burst. Before we leave that MIT study behind though, two last quick clarifications. I think it's worth the time given the millions of people who read the headlines that came of it. The first is that if you dig into the appendices, you'll see it was asking about projects beginning in January 2024. You may remember that it was September of 2024 that the reasoning paradigm burst onto the scene with O1 Preview from OpenAI. Coding with AI a year ago was pretty awful, but now it's a completely different story. Still not perfect, but way better. And yes, I do say that in the full knowledge of that Meta report showing that on massive code bases with early 2025 models, the impact is pretty mixed for coders. If you're curious about that, check out my interview with the lead author of that study on Patreon. Second quick clarification, the authors of the MIT study were encouraging the use of an AI agent framework, Nanda, so had some reason to suggest businesses were not yet deriving tremendous value, a bit like McKinsey. The study did make brilliant points about the current lack of memory and adaptability in real time of models, but offered its framework as a potential solution to those very problems. Just something to bear in mind when you read the headlines. Fourth bit of context on the AI bubble question, which is on the nature of incremental progress. If you look at each week's progress in AI, it can seem like small steps forward, somewhat akin to this new Helix walking demo from humanoid robot makers Figure AI. Slow but somewhat ominously inevitable progress. Everything seems incremental, but on the other hand, if you were only shown the progress in AI at the end of each year, I think you'd be less inclined to think of AI.
Curtains are cheap. Curtains are easily changeable. That would be why, Michael.
As a bubble. And on that year-end point, I don't just mean on benchmarks like my own, Simple Bench, which Elon Musk seems to have...
I believe in you, Samson. I believe in you.
Picked up on as a marker of Grok 4's improvement. You might not know, but Simple Bench is basically a private test of logical reasoning, and each generation of models does outperform the last, except for Claude 3.7 Sonnet randomly, but anyway. No, I'm talking about things like the MMMU, testing models' ability to navigate charts, tables, and technical diagrams at almost expert level. You could literally just take a snapshot at the end of each year. Let me try and do this. It's the bloody American dates. What is that? 23rd of July. Okay, so we've got, what is that? 38%. Then we go forward a year and we're on 68%. Forward a year and we are on 83%. I notice on the left it says ensemble of human experts medium 82.6, so we're ahead of that, and top human experts 88.6. Trust me, I know some of these benchmarks are brittle, but if I only gave you those 3 data points, you'd be like, wow, that's pretty good. To be honest, I kind of think of benchmarks as a bit like being photos of a music concert. They can give you a snapshot in time of model performance, not really an immersive experience of it. What would you have said this time last year about Genie 3, which enables you to step into and explore your favorite paintings, as one commentator said? Sometimes I think we're also dopamine addicted to the next release, that if 2 weeks go by without something major, we're like, man, AI winter, it's all over. I'm not even going to get to the near expert level speech transcription we now have in 2025, VO3, lifelike speech generation, song generation, or even real world impact. Well, I kind of lied. I am going to briefly touch on real world.
I'm impressed that it had the object permanence, that the cafe was still there when you turned around.
impact. Already, systems like AlphaEvolve from Google have saved Google 0.7% of their worldwide compute resources. The key was that the language model could get feedback, so it kind of knew when it was hallucinating or when it was onto something good, and it could iterate rapidly. There was so much real-world impact with its automated solutions that the bottleneck actually became manual experimentation. When I look back for this video, I couldn't believe that that paper was in May. It felt like years ago. And stepping back, there's just so much to take in each week that we even ignored the official passing of the Turing test in March. Humans literally could not tell in written conversations whether they were speaking to another human or the recently retired GPT-4.
It's going to go on your permanent record, Samson, so just saying.
4.5. Speaking of seeing the human behind the screen, that reminds me of something. And I'm going to do something that I very, very rarely do on the channel, which is talk about something that isn't all about AI, just for maybe 30 seconds, because the other day I met up with 11 young medical students on electives from Palestine. They were incredible people, and most of them are using language models, by the way, to revise and become better doctors. They are from the West Bank, so they do currently have access to basic resources like the internet and food, which is not the case in Gaza. So massive shout out to the Janine lads who might be watching, and any of you guys that I might see at the next protest march in London. Now 4.5, and if you thought...
Shout out Philip. Shout out Philip. I did not know that, and I did not expect that.
That so far in this video, every bit of AI that I've mentioned was just a flashy demo. Well, then you have to have an answer for the reasoning breakthroughs of the last 10 months. Because in mid-2024, it appeared to be the academic consensus that models couldn't reason. What you're seeing is a classic block swirl challenge in which the goal is to get the red block on top of the blue block. And people said, well, yes, they could memorize word sequences to solve such basic Lego-like scenarios. The data backed that up, and you can see Gemini 1.5 Pro and GPT-4o scoring around half or less on this challenge. Back then, though, if you switched the words around, so the logic was the same, but the words didn't really make sense anymore, model performance dropped off a cliff, as you can see. That's the mystery blocks world challenge. This was pretty nailed-on proof that language models couldn't reason and would never be able to reason. This study was cited by, among others, Jan LeCun. Here's an example, by the way, of this more abstract challenge where you have to understand the patterns behind the words, not just memorize the next word. I don't know about you guys, but I would find this really quite hard. Then, somewhat out of the blue for the authors, one of whom I interviewed, along comes O1 Preview, which gets almost 53% on this mystery blocks world. The authors had to rename language models to language reasoning models because they could, in fact, decode such jumbled abstractions. Likewise, this challenge, Arc AGI 1, which I did a video on back in the autumn, in which models couldn't predict what would come next in this sequence. It held out for almost 6 years, and even, by the way, held out against O1 Preview, but fell to O3, the precursor to GPT-5. The author of that benchmark says it's not just brute forcing it. These capabilities are new territory, and they demand serious scientific attention. Francois Chalet, by the way, now believes that fully human-level AI will arrive by 2030. But the point is this, we've come a long way since ChatGPT in November 2022, and it's easier.
Scholarly Potato, yes. 100% absolutely yes.
To point to flaws in current models than design a benchmark that will last even 18 months at the current rate of AI progress. If you think you've found a slam dunk thing that AI can't do, make a benchmark of it and see if it lasts 18 months. Because whatever layer of abstraction you add, LLMs seem able to climb up to it eventually. Now, it's true that deriving new physics or inventing brilliant new literary genres may require a mountain of such layers, something that's a real uphill climb to incentivize in training. As the rich air, you could call it, of genius level data gets sparser, I think, the further up you go. There's another problem though. These language models are preternatural pattern finders, but their intelligence is not perfectly analogous to human intelligence and is not as efficiently derived. Thank God a baby doesn't demand the same kind of energy or at least wattage, as the frontier models do to train. And prompting models at inference time demands similar resources to both training them and experimenting with new ways to train them. It all comes from the same compute, so AI labs have competing demands on bottleneck resources. Serving more people sometimes literally comes at the sacrifice of making a smarter model. But while we're on Sam Altman, let me turn to point number 6, which is that the CEOs of these labs have so much to do these days that I wouldn't be surprised if they have somewhat lost touch with the models they're creating. And it's not just Sam Altman who oscillates between saying that AI might generate OpenAI $100 trillion and that there's investor overexcitement, as you saw at the start, between saying that he feels the AGI with every release and admitting that the GPT-5 rollout was a fiasco. You know what though? It's not only him. You've got Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, who I remember distinctly saying that progress would be slower in 2025 than it was in 2024. But then Google DeepMind went beast mode after that and started releasing eye-opening models almost weekly from around, I'd say, mid-June. He clearly didn't know what was coming. He would never have said that. Then there's the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, who said recently, "I get really angry when someone's like, this guy's a doomer, he wants to slow things down." Why would people say that he wants to slow things down? Well, let's look at a transcript of one of his earliest interviews on the subject in 2023. Sorry for the transcript text, but Amodei repeatedly said that he didn't want AI acceleration. You may not know this, but Anthropic had a model, Claude, before ChatGPT and could have released it first. Just after that decision, he said, "Yeah, we didn't want a big allowed public release that might accelerate things so fast that the ecosystem might not know how to handle it." Later on, he said, "Given the rate at which the technology is progressing, there's a worrying aspect. On balance, I'm glad that we weren't the ones who fired that starting gun." I could go on and on about the changes in sentiment of these CEOs, but I guess let's just cut to the point. My only point is I would forgive a lot of people for thinking that the CEOs will be the most informed about these AI models, but they're often not. Pay more attention to the top researchers at these companies, not necessarily the executives of the companies. Seventh, if you remember, I started this video by saying that stocks went down and that's what those articles were about. Well, that's true, but they're back up again. Stocks are going to do what stocks do. Which brings us to my 8th and final point, because even researchers don't know how many layers of abstraction an LLM can be made to think in. And so the leadership of those companies definitely don't know, and the media is almost like headless chickens. The very same outlets that argue that AI is a bubble report that the job impacts will soon be grave. Of course, I get that these news organizations are not monolithic, but there's somewhat of a contrast in those 2 points. But honestly, even for those of us who pay attention, for every benchmark that shows an incredible new ability, like that of being able to predict the future, can't cheat on that, at increasing accuracy, see Profit Arena. Currently, they have GPT-5 High as being the best at predictions. There are papers at the same time, like this one, exposing how basic visual tricks fool even the best LLMs of today. Will the gold medal accumulating unreleased reasoning model of OpenAI suffer from the same hallucinations? Or perhaps the forthcoming Gemini 3? We shall probably know by the autumn, which may bring us a new step change in performance as last autumn did, or may not. I would certainly be skeptical of anyone who says they are certain either way. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you think AI is a bubble. I'm off to play with the image editing tool from Gemini, Nano Banana. Have a wonderful day.
All right, that is going to be it for today. But to give you an idea on what we're going to talk about on the next episode, which will be coming tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. How Amazon built the Soviet dream. AI has ruined science fiction movies. David Shapiro being concerned about the direction of AI. The new politics of AI. The fatal flaw in AI hiring no one can fix. What AI backlash at YouTube can teach other companies. Is AI ruining music? And more. And if that sounds good to you, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please stick around for the raid. You know how this works. Take you someplace fun and interesting. Hopefully both. Let's do some science. Gonna take you over to Science Streams. Also part of the Knowledge Fellowship, of which your humble streamer is a part of. So yeah. Good people talking about science. Science! I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day, which is already in progress. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shaggy loves you. So do I. Be great.
Guys about.